Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's June 30th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was an uptrend all day today. It started out, really until we start to move higher here, you still have to respect these overnight highs. But we went right on through there, so it was pretty obvious. It was pretty obvious you could find this trend early on. But you still don't know that you won't get resistance here and it might turn down. So always respect it until prices trade through it or prove that they're not holding. But once we went on through, it's obvious this is a trend day. We got a break around lunchtime, and then we really just established a new channel here. We had this brown one, and then it got even steeper. So the market it really got more volatile as the day went on and got stronger. So, we're back at 3,100 again. So this market just never quits. It's amazing, really. But notice that most of the movement was after 2 o'clock again today. We've had that I think that was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, same thing. So somebody's coming in late in the afternoon and buying it up. Generally you'll see that in the overnight. Maybe they're changing up the pattern a little bit because there's some buying there yesterday in the overnight, but today there wasn't any buying in the overnight. You see, we just kind of chopped around, and then when the market opened, it was all uphill from there. And so maybe they're getting in a lot of buys before the holiday weekend. I don't know, but regardless, it's an uptrend, and that's all we care about. And a couple of things I want to talk about. I've gotten so many emails today and yesterday, people that get confused, and really what they're missing is, and this is what I really want to talk about, is we are not pattern traders. We don't just go looking for second entries. We don't just trade patterns. People have been at this for maybe even a few months, and they're flustered because they're not having success. Trust me, if you're at this less than a year, you're probably still in kindergarten or elementary school. You're basically learning a new language. So make sure you understand that. Have realistic expectations. If you're just throwing darts at a board hoping something sticks, you're going to have a lot of losers. And that's what most of you, even though you think you know what you're doing, you're still just throwing darts at a board. People send me their chart. They've drawn no trend lines, no nothing, and they're trying to trade this as a range. I was trying to short the range up here. When you start to get a trend like this, don't take any shorts. You'll notice I've got one short here and maybe one possibility here, but this was before you knew it was a trend. Once we knew it was a trend, I didn't take a short till I had a confirmed reversal pattern with a trend line going in the other direction. And even then, if you're not a seasoned trader, I'd say don't take that trade. Just wait and look for longs down here. So the fact that we weren't getting back to the upper side, though, that's telling us something. We're probably going to get a breakdown here. And that's exactly what happened. But the market came back just as strong and went on to make, you still expect prices to make a retest attempt at the high. And that's what happens. This thing just rockets off again. Of course, we took a little bit of it back before the close, but that's still a really big move for the afternoon. So, but make sure you understand that. We're not pattern traders. You can't just go, sure, second entries are powerful. They really are. And you could just about trade them and do well, but you're going to have a lot of losers if you just trade second entries because if you don't know the context of what the chart's telling you, you're going to enter in the wrong direction on second entries a lot, and you're going to have a lot of failures. You might still make money because they are very powerful, but if you learn to trade them with the trend at the key entry points, they become exponentially more powerful. And that's where you got to get. So people send me their chart and they're all frustrated. This was a perfect second entry. And it's not a perfect second. It ain't even close to perfect second entry. Nowhere near close to being a perfect second entry. But if you just look at the pattern, yeah, it's a great second entry. But anyway, I hope that's clear. You've got to learn to read this chart. And if you're just out there, if you don't understand what prices are doing, and there's no way you can know if you're not drawing your trend lines. That's why I draw all these stinking lines all over the place, so I know what's going on. let me back out again. First, you got the main pattern, which is this two-tiered channel working up. And then within that, you got smaller patterns. Look at the little micro trends. Look at the little congestion and small ranges. All congestion is just a few bars of a range. It's the same thing. They work the same way. You get failures. Prices fell out of them and reverse. But it's the same. That's just a small range right there. That little area right there is just a tiny congestion with just a small range. It's just congestion is like a micro range, I guess, is maybe the best way to explain it. But the first thing you want to do this morning was measure this leg, and then from there, look for a possible measured move. Well, when we blew that out of the water, you got to say, hey, something else is going on there. This trend's probably going to keep going, and just switch gears. And that's what happened. It's just an uptrend, and it wasn't. And you could have had it by right in here. Definitely confirmed by 850 this morning, but you really should have had it right off these first few swings here. And yeah, it pokes through a little bit here, but that's not unusual for the after hours. You'll see that a lot. And it looked like it poked through a little up here, but we never could even get back up there. But you can still see that midline's right through there. You can see prices playing out of it, off of it, both sides all day long. So I know it's right. We just couldn't get back up there. And when you can't get back up there, that's telling you you're probably going to get that break. And notice we corrected really from about 1120 or so, and we really didn't start trending again until 120. So that's a 2-hour correction. That's about what you normally get on a trend line break before it'll start. If it's going to continue the trend, it'll start back again. Normally it's about an hour. So that's pretty typical. But let's talk about the trades, so it won't take all day here. Just remember that Friday's a trading holiday for July 4th, so no trading on Friday. But when we first came in this morning, this is definitely a range. Here's your overnight highs. Here's your overnight lows. We bounced down here. We're turning down up here. We came back. We tested this a few more times. 7 o'clock came right in here. And notice we bounce. And unfortunately, you don't get a real good setup. You might have entered here, but it's still not a reversal pattern. You did close above the EMA, but in order to enter, you got to use that for a signal bar, and it's more of an inside bar. Still pretty bullish, but I just think you're better off to wait, and then you get a breakout pullback. It pushes on up, comes back, and that's a true reversal pattern. Notice that new low. You get a first entry short, and then you make another leg up. You get a second entry short, and it actually breaks lower first and then turns up. That'll generally trap people, and it just takes on off. So that was really your first opportunity. It was 8:34 before you really got a trade today. Sometimes that happens. And then notice we get kind of a repeat pattern. You make that low, you try to go lower once, you try to go lower twice, it fails. And that is a second entry long too, counting up. Actually, it's not, because the second entry was right there. If you had a good signal bar there, by all means go long on that second entry, because that's the first break of that little channel. So we're probably going to make a new high. There's perfect price action. Look at that channel. You get a break, move to a new high, and then it turns down. So, but I like this. It's really not a failed second entry because it didn't make a new low, but you can see if something looks like it's a reversal pattern and you bounced, it's a double test of the EMA regardless. It's 2 attempts to go lower. They just made higher lows. It's not a very good signal bar, but on a trap, that's a short trap on a failed second entry. You can see that first. Technically, it's not a failed second entry because that's not a new swing low. The previous swing low's here. There's actually one caveat to that, because technically there is a new swing low here, but it's too complicated to try to tell people. It'll just confuse people. So if you want to look at that and see if you can figure out why that you could count that as a new swing low, have at it and see if you can figure it out. Actually, I'll go ahead and tell you so you don't have to write to me and ask me if you're right or not. But what happened was prices came down, made that low. They opened back up right here, traded higher, and then turned and came back down. So that was a new swing low temporarily. We talked about that yesterday, how that could be a second entry short. This is not a second entry short. Well, technically, I guess it could be because actually no, because the second entry triggered right there. So this would be a third entry short. So you could still look at that as a new low. First entry, second entry, fails, go long. If it fails, it doesn't fail till it breaks above this bar. So your entry is on a buy stop one tick above this bar right here. So that's where you would enter. And if it breaks higher, you go with it. You don't know this is going to break higher, but when it starts trading higher, you say, hey, if this breaks higher, this is a failed second entry short. I might want to trade that. And you drop your limit, your buy stop order one tick above that, not a limit order, a buy stop order. And if it breaks higher, you get swept into that trade and the momentum takes you right on with it. And look how that burst up right there. And then it makes a new high after the break of that trend and it shoots right back down. And notice there's two legs down right there. And you get a first entry right here, and it comes back, and you get a higher low and a second entry right there. Go long right there. And then you get another failure reversal pattern right there. We've seen it 3 times in a row now. Go long one, and this is almost a perfect repeat pattern. The signal bar even looks the same. Go long one tick above that. And you might even still go long right here. But the fact that it didn't take off here, it didn't look like it trapped a lot of people. So I don't think I would risk it again. And it still would have kept you in the trade and you could have gone higher. But if you're already in here, I wouldn't add on by the time it came to here. And I wouldn't enter by the time because now it looks too congestive. It would have still worked, but it's just, I'd skip that one. Then you run up here and you got congestion working across. You get a little drop out the bottom. And really it kind of dropped down for a little bit. And this moved down. Trading along there. And then you get a little breakout and it pull back. And that's just a triple test at the key entry point. You really could almost enter right here as well. Because at this point, you would move this down and that's a chance to get in. You would have had to ride this pullback out. But you might have even entered right there. Both of these are green. They're a little aggressive because it is congestion, but it's bouncing off this trend line and you can see it bouncing each time. And this would be the one I'd be more apt to take because it broke out, came back and then bounced and it's making a higher low as well. But again, it's aggressive. And it's notice what you got here. You got the brown trend line, you got the EMA, and you got this horizontal support. So you got 3 different forms of support right there under you. That's pretty strong, especially in an uptrend. So if this is going to succeed to the upside, you expect it to succeed higher because the trend is up and we traded up into this. So they're still aggressive, so just keep that in mind. And then we fail, we come back, and then we're right back in here again. And I would have moved this back up by now. Probably would have even moved it to there. We're kind of back in there, and then you get another failure, and there's also a little second entry short. First entry, second entry. It gives you a chance to go short right at the highs. And I don't think it was here. I think it was up here. Yeah, where we had a bunch of people who get trapped, and I'll talk about that. And this is similar. People will try to get along right there. The other trade looks almost exactly like this. So that's another thing when we get to this trade up here I'm going to talk about. I had at least 4 or 5 emails about it. But it's just a long trap, just kind of like this was. And it traps people and see how quickly it rockets back down. But it's because this was a range. And you can clearly see that range across there, that congestion. And you actually probably would have moved this up again to maybe right along there, like so. And you get a little failed breakout, and then it's back inside on the second entry. And if you have a little better signal bar here, this is still relatively bullish. This is one, if you've got room to get out and you got a good signal bar, take that trade. There's no reason you couldn't take it as long as you got room to get out. Here it didn't matter. It took off, but you still don't know that it's going to take off like that. It runs up here and it's just chopping sideways again, and you don't really get a little trap here, so you can see it runs stops when it rockets up right there, but that's not a safe entry at all. and it'll fail too many times on you. So, as proven by right here. So we'll talk about that one in a minute. But notice you got this channel working up, and you got a little overshoot right there. And then you can't get back to it right here. What does that lead to? Usually a break. And notice this is the first break, and you get a little first entry and then a second entry right at the EMA on the first break. Once this makes a new high, I wouldn't go long here anymore. Not unless you get a great setup. And this is not a great setup right here that all you asked about. So if you get a really good setup, you might get that next leg up, because we're really looking for prices to try to go up here. But here's another clue. Measure that leg, and then there's that leg, and that's a perfect 2 measured legs up. So that's always giving you a little clue as well. Oops. Let me get that out of the way. But you can see that rockets right up, and we make that new high, and then we push one more little push up, and it fails. And then notice what happens. You're back inside this. That's a little congestion. Anytime you get 3 or more bars side by side, and at least one of them has no body or a very tiny body, that's congestion. So you've already got congestion right there, and you get a little failed break higher. And then you're back inside it with that another doji, a 1 bar trading range, and you make another one right beside it. Then you make the signal bar, and this is where all of you tried to go long, and it went 1 tick out and fails. You don't know that it's going to take off short like that, but you could expect that it might trap some people. But I wouldn't take that short really either, probably. Not right into the EMA when it just bounced off of it. You see it tried to bounce a little bit before it went lower. So if anything, you'd be better off probably enter here on the breakout. Now you're just right back in the range. Drops on down. We get a break outside. You get a second entry short that fails. There's that same pattern that we've shown you multiple times up through there. And there's really no short on the second entry, because there's your signal bar. It's too bullish. You could say, okay, this has matching highs, but there's a little stem down here, and now you got congestion. So just sit tight. No trade. You know, anytime you're not 100% sure, just like right here, we don't know. There's not a good enough reason to go long, and there's no reason to go short. So don't do anything. And that's where most of you get screwed up. You feel like you got to do something on every bar. Most of your best trades are going to be at the key entry points. When we were going up through here, it was off this trend line. Coming back down here, if you get a short setup with enough room, you might take it, but you don't get one. So you just sit tight. So you got to wait from 10 o'clock all the way to 11 o'clock to take a trade, and most of you can't do that. You'll go mad trying to wait that long. You've probably entered 5 or 6 times between here and here. And that's what's messing you up. There's no entries. Wait till you see a valid entry. And really, most of your valid entries today were failures. So if you're new and just learning, you didn't get a lot of entries. There's a great second entry right there. That's a decent buy off the lows. And so far, that's really about it. Otherwise, you had to trade traps and stuff. It's just one of those days. You get days like that. But once you see that repeat pattern trap, but notice you get that failure, just go long and look at it go. It trapped all those people getting short, have to exit. It runs up. There's a high or low here, but you can't enter way up there. It works, but next time it won't. And then guess what happens? You come up short again. You get a first entry. It pushes all the way down through the EMA and comes back on the second entry to test the EMA, and that's what a reversal looks like. And it fails and gives you it doesn't matter what the signal bar is like, but it gives you a good one. Just go short right there. And look, you know they were trapped. Look at that. That's what causes that big bar to shoot down like that. All these longs, people that were guaranteed half of these longs got long right up here. And then suddenly they say, oh, I screwed up again, and they have to exit right here. And some of you listening, I guarantee you can say, yep, that was me. Only reason I know is because I used to do it too. I've been there. I've done that. I've earned I've earned that one before, so I can wear it with honor, just like most of you can. We all go through this. You got to learn to read this chart. And if you just throwing darts at a board and you're trying to pick out second entries and you're just guessing, guess what? You're going to have a lot of losing trades. But that's a great entry. And then now, look, we're back down to the trend line. You can't go short into this trend line. So there's no trade here. I don't care how good it looks, and I don't care how far it goes. There's no setup right here. That's against the rules to trade into the trend line on a trend, even if you know it's going to break. Unless you get some kind of super trap, and there's no trap here. It's just congestion, and it drops, and it goes into another congestion, then it drops. And so you don't know that it's going to bounce back. That's one that you might, if you're a real aggressive trader and you know what you're doing, you might go long right there. Look how far away we are from the EMA. Look how long it's been. It's been since way up here at 11:35 or so, and here it is 12:15, 12:20, and we haven't come back yet, and we're overshooting that channel a little bit, and we just fell out of congestion. We're probably going to snap back. But I don't want to tell any of you to take that, because you'll all try to do it tomorrow and fail, and you'll be emailing me, why'd this fail? But you have to understand what prices are doing. It is still risky. Now let me make sure I clarify that. Even if you tried that, it's still risky. There's a chance it can fail. Picking tops and bottoms is pretty much a losing strategy, because just when you think it's hit bottom, it'll tick up and it'll make one more move down and stop you out, and then it'll go right where you thought it was going to go. But notice what happens here. You make a higher low, and then you get another attempt to go lower that fails and bounces right back off that support. It breaks lower first and turns and goes out the other side. You're going to have some traders trapped, and look at it surge up to a new high. That's those trapped traders having to exit. A bunch of them probably got short. They looked at that and said, oh, that's a lower high. But you don't want to go short when you've had support across there, especially when this came back, and then you just can't go short right there. Plus, there's the opportunity. You should have drawn that trend line. There's opportunity. You're going short right into a trend line. And when it kisses it and reverses, that confirms the trend line. You know you probably got some trap shorts right there. Just go long right above it. That's why you weren't necessarily looking for a long here. Let me explain that. You weren't necessarily looking for a long, but you can't go short right here. It's not a good enough setup because the trend is up, and this is the first break, so we're probably going to retest the highs up here. So no trade is what you're thinking. But hey, when it breaks lower and starts turning right back up off that support, you're thinking, oh, if it breaks higher here all in this bar, I probably got people trapped. And because you were sitting still instead of taking a bad trade and getting trapped, you see the trap. That's why most of you don't see these traps, because you're the ones getting trapped. What really tickles me is when people send me their emails and say, why'd this fail? I said, it's a trap. You got trapped. And they thinking they saw a trap and were fooling everybody else. Look, you're trading against skilled professionals. If you see a trap, or what you think is a trap, ask yourself, is there a good chance that a lot of people are going to get trapped here, and I'm going to be the only one smart enough to see that that's a trap? And just ask yourself that and ponder on it a minute before you take it. Most of the time you're going to see the trap only because you didn't take it, and then you're going to recognize it as it happens. Like I didn't know there was going to be a trap. I wouldn't know there was going to be a trap here. I just know I can't go short right here. But when I see it break lower and turn, and I say, hey, if it breaks out that other side all in one bar on an engulfing bar, I guarantee they're going to be trapped. And this thing's got momentum, and I'm going to buy right there, and I got an easy scalp. And notice it comes back and takes out all the break-even trades. It even gives all the losers a chance to get out at break-even. This market will do that a lot. And then all of a sudden it takes off again. And so notice what this is. You got the brown trend line working up. You don't have a good enough signal bar here. You probably do here, but that's too congestive looking. But notice this is a double bottom, so that's a new low. You get a first entry short, and then you're working up here, and you get another little trap, a failed second entry short, and this one turns, and this thing gapped over and then backed up a little bit. So it's still just like it went through on momentum almost. So there's another, it's like a little repeat pattern of that one almost. And now look at it go. Now all these shorts, even the ones that were hanging on hoping maybe they were right and it was going to come back, have to all start exiting. And then once they get a good profit and they all start taking it, it falls back. But notice what it is. We're at the other end of the trend channel too, and we kind of overshoot it. So hey, what does that mean? We'll probably get a break. Sure enough, it goes out the other side. We're into 2 o'clock now, so it doesn't matter. And you don't want to be entering way up here. You can't go long way up here. You don't really want to go short, but you can't go long. You're waiting on a correction to come back here and then get long. And that's where a lot of you are messing up. You're just constantly scanning for an entry on every single bar. And there's times where you're better off to do nothing. And by doing nothing, you'll often see the traps. So I hope that was helpful. And this turned out to be a 30-minute video almost. We're at 26 minutes and counting. So I'm just trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to show you since we're almost at 30 minutes. Okay, I did want to show you this real quick. This is our website, of course. And so many of you take a moment to look around at all the stuff on the site. There's links all down through this side. There's stuff here, links to our YouTube stuff, links to the midday charts, which you only see those if you're a member. There's some current market news here. You know, don't read the news to try to figure out how to trade, but some of you may, you know, there's a lot of times I'm interested in this news because of stocks or something else I own. But the main thing I wanted to show you was make sure you go to the frequently asked questions page. There's probably a manual right here. Most people charge you for all this information. There's some good trading stuff on this part of our website, and people never look at it. I have to send them there, and I'll send people here to read it, and then they'll come back and ask me a week later the same question. So, and I have to send them back, and they say, oh, I don't know why I missed that the first time. I don't know if they just didn't read it, but go here to that page and read it. But the other thing is once you start your studying, if you want to learn how to study, go to this video lesson links. Click on that, and you'll have 2 options here. There's free ones, free video lessons, and then you got your premium ones. You have to be a member to see these, and buying a manual doesn't make you a member, so make sure you know that. They're separate. People buy a manual, then they're trying to log in, they get themselves locked out, and they can't see anything for an hour or so. So if you don't buy a membership, you can't get into this part right here. But they're both exactly the same, except one of them are the free ones. Let's click on the free ones, and let me show you what you'll see. You come down here, and there's basically what we've done is we've categorized every single article that's free. You got under day trading category, under price action category, some of the learning process, some of the psychology, some of the tools we use, candlesticks, stuff about tick chart, and this is the free one. Counter trend trading, support and resistance, trend lines, entries and exits, market open, any of these. Live trades, here's some of our live trades. Other markets. I mean, there's so much stuff here, but people don't look around, but you just click, you see something you like, click on it, and there's that article in the video to go with it. So it's an easy way to find stuff. So people won't look around. Make sure you look around at some of this stuff. There's even a search option right here if you just want to search anything. One thing I have known that I still haven't, let's see if it does it today, but sometimes the first time you enter something, let's just say we want to learn about second entries. Well, it went straight to it. Every now and then it'll give you, oops, that page is not found. And it's something in our security. I haven't nailed it down. It doesn't do it all the time. But if you get that, just enter it a second time and it'll work. And maybe we've gotten it fixed now. I'm not sure. It didn't do it there, but it usually does it the first time sometimes. But yeah, you search for second entries and there's all your stuff. There's a bunch of stuff on failed second entries. Some of it's free, some of it's paid. It'll tell you. So you don't have to buy anything. It's all here. Just come explore and use it. And hopefully it'll be helpful to you. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.